actually took this active decision to become a speaker, and fortunately Jürgen accepted it quite a while ago, but it took some time to really put the topic together. Because the topic is something we all think is coming natural. So whispers, we all know how to decide. No way. So one of the parent interviews we executed said that the parents feel very sad because nobody trains their kids how to decide. Question, what about parents? So yes, we all think we can do better, we can help them to do better, and most of the time we force them to follow the path. And that's something that is not really creating self-determination, nor a responsible and active citizen. So just one question up front. So who actually has a book on the whatever table in your apartment they want to read right now? That's the next question. So why and how did you decide on this book? Any criteria that you used? Was it a recommendation? Was it on a bestseller list? Was it the cover? The color? Was it because you read something from the author before? So there are multiple criteria, but most of the time we just kind of like pick something, and most of the things are going within our brains. And that's the tricky part, because the thing that we are trying to do is actually creating our future. So whatever we decide is part of the common future. So how can we make or raise awareness for this topic to create a better world, a better future? We've just came back from a trip to India, where we talked to a lot of people about decision making. Decision making is a cultural topic, and we are entering right now into the depth, because it is all about ourselves. So who we are, how we actually action our life, and who we want to be in the future. Most of the times we do not know what's coming up. So future is something we trying to come and get hold on by forming lots of parameters. We say the future will look like this when this will happen. But this only happens if we decide to make it happen. So if you look at decisions, it actually is it's coming from all areas of the life. So it's actually starting very early, because that's why parenting is part of the decision-making process. So we usually let go, and that's part of the parenting topic that I discussed in India as well, when the kids start to walk alone. We don't carry them anymore. If they start to talk, we don't talk for them anymore. But the minute they start to think, we still interfere into their decisions. Is that right? I don't think so. So actually, who of you followed the path of your family? Who became or followed the profession that the family was common and used to? It is one of the things that you find when it comes to decision of education and career. So a lot of people feel comfortable. Decision making is as well something you can actually follow the path and feel comfortable because you know what's going to happen, or you can decide to go in a different way and execute something that is completely new to you. So I'm today. Everybody talks about working class kids. So I'm one of them. My parents are workers, and I decided to go to study because I wanted to know more. I was curious, and I'm still curious. So what was going on is I was used to decide on scarcity. So whereas actually you said you always get problems when you have too many options. So there is actually two lines of decision making. One is if you follow scarcity because you're used to have limited options. The other way is not less difficult for the people because they are used to many options. So how to decide on a variety of options where you have no limits. I had a very interesting observation with an Indian girl. She had everything you can dream of. She had great marks, she had big financial backup, she had parents that were supporting her ideas. She only had to decide on where to study. And she came to the process fully equipped with all facts and figures. And so when she was executing the whole thing, she found out, oh, wait a minute, where am I? So because she was so used to all the pressure and all the expectations from society, parents and peers, that she completely forgot to put herself into the equation. So the visual thinking and thought process of decision making is actually helping us to balance facts and figures, facts and figures and emotions. So the critical part for her was she was very much a family person. So her decision was going to a US-based, UK-based, Singapore, Chinese or Indian university. So in the end, she based her decision on, do I want to fly 12 hours, 8 hours, or 6, or maybe just 1 hour to see my parents and my family again? Knowing the boundaries of Indian families, this is a very important criteria. Or knowing about the Asian families. So because we executed a research among 500 Gen Z and millennials with different questionnaires and... Sorry, I forgot to put the slides on.
Hello!
Yes, you see, I'm actually not only naturally curious, but I'm as well naturally nervous. So, so with the research we executed, we found that there's a lot of common problems and pains people have. So the only thing that was different was the socialization of decision making. So whereas you had in Europe and North America, you had a very kind of like proud, self-determined, supposedly self-determined way of decision making. Whereas in Southern America, Africa and Asia, we found that people are more relying on their social environment. So increasingly towards Asia, this social dependencies went to the parents. So it is a hard way to really kind of like break up those rules. So it has some limits, but what we found out was actually that a lot of people feel anxiety, regret, and as Wipke said, have problems choosing the right one. And the minute they take a decision, it's 62% that feel uncomfortable. So imagine you feel uncomfortable. What does it do? It actually causes mental stress. And mental stress is something that actually brings you into situations that you don't like because you fear that you don't perform well. You don't perform to the expectations. You feel that you have to argue. How many of you have been asked to argue a decision and came up with the arguments afterwards? Nobody? Come on. The problem is we do everything in our brain. So how can we actually execute decisions without our brain? There are tons of models. So pro and con lists is one of the most known. You have the Carnegie Mellon model. You have actually, when I researched, I found 250 models to support you with decision making. So the topic is there, but still we don't have implemented into our education. And that's something we thought is actually necessary to do, because I can tell you, I lectured for 20 years, and I was always nervous before lecturing. I lectured for 20 years entrepreneurship and social marketing. And the things that I saw, and I love the Book of Life. Everybody familiar with the Book of Life? Just look around you and recognize what is happening. That's the book of life. It's actually the most important and most interesting one. So I saw that most of the students feel uncomfortable making a decision. Why? Because of expectations, because of performance indicators. So I started to ask them why. And one funny thing I have to tell you, I asked the guy, why haven't you decided very quickly with whom you want to work? And I just skipped the presentation, leave it. And the guy responded, it's my best friend, but he's a lazy bug, and I don't want to work with him because I do have to do the work. So it's actually all the small things that are influencing decisions, and sometimes you cannot avoid this. So he finally ended up with this lazy bug in his group. And there was no way out for him because his friend was so sure that he can work only with him because he knew, okay, he's doing the work. It's actually, you have all this. And when I found this, I was so eager to do it. So I created an Excel sheet. I gave it to a foundation. They were looking for projects to fund, and they used it. And they came back and told me, okay, it's perfect. It's a little bit uncomfortable to use because it's Excel, but we even made voices heard that were never heard before. And so that's the part that I was actually kind of looking for. And then, due to the innovation approach in Germany, I didn't find anyone to really accept that this is an innovation. So I put it in the drawer. But almost 18 years later, my son came back from his Abitur. And we asked him, okay, what are your plans? What are you doing? What have you decided? And he was like, chilling. And we were like, okay, 1 year. So he went off, took a year off and traveled. And when he came back, we asked him again. And he was like, chilling a second year? And we're like, no way. So, but what I found was we've not performed as good as I was expecting from other parents. So we seem to not have trained him properly how to decide for his life. We gave him a crash course, and he actually managed his studies. He's now, actually, his first working day was yesterday. And but he's a very relaxed and happy person because he found his way. But actually for me, it was actually the starting point. I said, okay, I'll have to pick this up from the drawer and I have to go into it. So I used all the universities that I was working with and asked them, okay, can we do projects? Can we do research? So, and all of them said, yeah, we can do this. And no German university, by the way, but innovation is still a problem. But we actually kind of found a way to really harvest on the alumni organizations as well as the current students. And we focused on education. And we found a lot of information within this. So, for example, 80% committed to have taken bad decisions. 77% procrastinate decisions. 7% just say, okay, they have no pending decisions. But some very interesting numbers have been drawn as well. So what is it if you take a bad decision? What is it influencing? It's influencing your motivation. It influences your monetary situation. It influences your emotional behavior. So, and that's something that we can actually look into. And we thought, okay, let's do a trial. So what is the most crucial part of decision handicap? Any ideas? What is it you're facing every day? Stress? Digital noise? So that's something that is massive. Because thinking that we execute all our decision processes in our brain and you get continuously distracted. So messages, even billboards. So it's not digital in Germany, but it's distracting. So how can we really help them? We decided, okay, let's try to take this out. But how? Okay, so what do they have every day? Smartphones. So just put it in an app for smartphones. So the only thing we did was we created a process starting from creating the decision question through the criterias, prioritizing, option indications, and then valuing. And you have it all visual. And the nice thing was, with all the people we observed, it was that most of them found the visualization, something we not planned, but they found the visualization of the process most intriguing because it made obvious what was intrinsically there. The uncomfortable feeling in the end was created within the visual process. And that's something that was very remarkable because we gave it to a couple and they always went into a fight on some purchase issues. So they went through the process, and afterwards the guy told me, "Hey Gordian, why didn't you invent this earlier?" And I was like, "What?" And it was like, instead of arguing after, we had a constructive discussion before, because we agreed together on some criteria to make the purchase. And in the end, there was no argument. So, and the nicest thing was, there was no made-up argument. So because that is what's happening if you don't have it documented. And that's something that actually comes in addition to it. So while going through the process, you document it. And it's there. You can actually go back. You can reflect on it. So the whole process is going through the cognitive skills. So decision-making is number 5, I guess, right now, on the list of 21st century skills. And I'm pretty sure, because if you look at news and if you listen to news, there are more stupid decisions than nice ones. And actually by accident, I talked yesterday to someone from the military, and he told me that they executed a research on military decision-making. And they found the same number, which I think is like amazing, but it's even more crucial to really make it different. Because he said that most of the military decisions, 80%, were wrong. And they immediately take lives. So, and if you now transfer this to everyday life, so what is it, what makes the death in decision making? Something a lot of people don't really consider. It's how your decision is interfering into the lives of your next ones and society in general. So if you look at leadership, leadership is something everybody's talking about. How many of you have met gorgeous leaders and would tell it's about 5 to 10? Yeah? So how many of you have met horrible leaders? That's the point. So horrible leaders are more... Actually, there are more than the others. I actually had a nice talk the day before, so I'm continuously talking, and I found that currently a lot of people are promoted, even though they don't perform, and even though they are horrible, because you rather promote someone who is already in the company than to have an open job description. And that's something that is a nightmare. And that's actually bringing death into the decision-making process. So look at the decisions that we take every day in our personal life, in our professional life, and in society. And then you find, okay, how to reflect on those issues that are crucial to us. So I could go on for hours, to be honest, and I'm very happy to talk about this. It's really becoming my passion, but I know that the 20 minutes are over, and I'm happy to receive your questions, and I'm happy to continue talking. And if you want to try... And if you want to try the app, I'm sorry, Actually, I'm the worst business administration guy you can think of. I hate finances, I hate marketing, so I have no marketing material than the stickers up front. But if you have any questions, my email address is very simple. It's go@od.systems. And happy to have your questions.